Hello, my name is Harrison Hopkins, and today we will be talking about heroism and how it can change the way a person acts based on specific, real life situations. This discussion explains what chemical and physical effects dangerous and exciting situations have on a person's mind and body. Our example for this discussion is the protagonist of a brilliant graphic novel, V for Vendetta by Alan Moore. Throughout the novel and the movie, the protagonist, cleverly named V, displayed various acts of daring heroism in order to save an enslaved London. But what made him perform these actions? Why would a person put him or herself in danger to help somebody else that they don't even know? And furthermore, what goes through a person's mind, either consciously or subconsciously, that pushes them to repeat these dangerous actions? That is what we aim to deduce here today, in order to understand why V acted as he did. From the beginning of the novel, V was shown as a character that was otherwise unstoppable. This is displayed right at the beginning, as V rescues an otherwise helpless Evie Hammond from some corrupt fingermen.
We're fingermen, pal.
We're off to blame in this 'tis too much proved that with devotion's visage and pious action we do sugar o'er the devil himself.
What's that mean?
Spare the rod.
Although this isn't exactly how it went in the book, the point is that he leapt into danger to intervene. But why did he choose to do this for this lone girl in the dark? Was it a chance to show his physical prowess off to another human being? Or was it more than that? One idea is maybe V decided to help Evie because he was longing for a connection to another person. A website called cyprus.co.uk speaks of something called the empathy altruism model of Batson from 1981. This model suggests that a person can experience two things while seeing a person suffer: personal distress or empathetic concern, which is going to be our focus. Some people feeling empathetic concern are generally worried about the other person's safety, which leads them to help 10 out of 10 times. This theory was tested by the previously mentioned Batson, who found that people fell under the category of empathetic concern helped those in need on every occasion. But that doesn't exactly explain why V would purposefully walk from the shadows to help a complete stranger, so let's dig a little deeper. The same website discusses in more depth why we help people, and the first and most relatable topic is helping based on social standing. In situations of distress, a person is more likely to help somebody who is part of the group they associate themselves with. This leads us to believe that V places himself in a group that would be defined as a collection of outcasts, people who exist outside of the lines of society, whether they know it or not. Knowing this, it would make sense that V sees Evie as an outsider and immediately forms a connection with her, out of either desperation for a connection of some kind or the aforementioned sense of empathetic concern. This may be true, but a theory needs to be tested from multiple directions, so let's step away from the feelings of empathy and focus on a separate, more potent emotion: anger. The only part of V's past that is shared with us in the novel and the movie alike is that he was a prisoner at a Larkhill resettlement camp, which served as a secret laboratory for testing various chemical compounds on human test subjects. Being as he was taken as a prisoner to be tested on, we know nothing of his life before Larkhill, but his time at Larkhill holds enough information for a theory on what may have driven him to take action. It would be an understatement to say that V's time at Larkhill was less than pleasant, and unpleasant was the status quo up until he made his escape, which seemed just as painful as his time in the cell. Although he managed to escape Larkhill, with or without his skin and eyes, he certainly did not forget what was done to him at Larkhill, and he was certainly not happy about it. After his escape, it is mentioned that years passed before he resurfaced, which could mean that V spent this time planning. Once he finally revealed himself to the world, he began killing people, but with a pattern. Each person he kills was once a worker at Larkhill Resettlement Camp, which hints that he may be acting out of a desire for revenge. Maybe his saving Evie Hammond wasn't to save her. Maybe his hatred for anything government-related made him kill the Fingermen, just for the sake of killing them. But maybe he didn't care for Evie, and she was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. This is possible, but it doesn't explain later events in the book, when V takes Evie with him to his home, the Shadow Gallery. If V was acting out of hatred and resentment for the government that locked him away and experimented on him, why would he continue to assist Evie Hammond? This isn't exactly like an angry, revenge-bound Shadow Walker. Another theory is that V might have actually fallen in love with Evie. Let me explain. An article on YourAmazingBrain.org talks about the chemical processes that occur in one's brain whilst falling in love, and they have some eerie connections to the ways our protagonist V acts. The article states that one of the first things that happens when you become attracted to somebody is an increase in adrenaline in your brain. This increased amount of adrenaline causes the attracted individual to sweat, makes their heart race, and causes a dry mouth. The sweaty pits and dry palate don't concern us, but the heart rate does. When a person becomes excited, often their heart rate becomes elevated, which is caused by the aforementioned adrenaline bursts. Livestrong.com states that the adrenaline is produced by the adrenal glands on the kidneys and is produced more quickly when the brain perceives a situation as dangerous or exciting and attempts to prepare a fight or flight response. But maybe the person doesn't have to be in danger, instead, witness somebody they care for in danger. If being attracted to somebody comes with the increased production of adrenaline, then it is a definite possibility that V was flowing with adrenaline when he spotted Evie in danger. The importance of this is that the adrenaline burst that V undertook launched his fight or flight response, sending him to the rescue of Evie and later making him take her to safety when he could have easily let her die. This is 2 points for the romantic side of V, but that only explains why he acted heroically around Evie. Why then did he enact a precise plan on a nationwide scale for all of England when the only person important to him was trapped in his museum-esque house? Because, despite the things that happened to him whilst imprisoned by England's officials, V loved his country and was willing to die to protect it, and because doing so was the only thing that made V truly happy. Seeing his country in ruin was tearing V apart, as he knew exactly what the innocent people of England were headed towards. So, he made a small plan to fight the crimes of his country, and after doing so, realized that it felt good. The book, What Makes a Hero, talks into what makes people feel happy, and it ties into this theory well. It speaks of a section in the brain called the nucleus accumbens, saying the nucleus accumbens, which releases the pleasure chemical dopamine, is almost like the common currency of the brain. It keeps track of rewards, whatever kind they are. It would make sense that, as V saved his country, his brain felt like it was doing the right thing, and rewarded him for it. Just imagine, a life of pain and loneliness can drive a man to do anything for a sense of accomplishment, and for V, he never felt more alive or accomplished than when he was smiting wrongdoers and fighting for the people of England, including his beloved Evie. The final question is, if V got his high from acting heroically and rescuing people in distressed England, why did he allow himself to die after liberating the people? An article on the database Galileo called Emotions Shape Decisions Through Construal Levels, the case of guilt and shame, speaks of guilt as something that brings out the lesser traits of somebody. As well, guilt can affect something called construal, which is the term used for the way in which a person sees and perceives the world around them. Guilt endows lower construal levels, making our protagonist V feel worse, thus allowing himself to get mortally wounded and, with his dying breath, tell Evie that she is in charge of future England, and that the New England holds no place for those made to destroy. That last line about the New England having no place for destroyers, that was V confessing his guilt and admitting that he didn't belong because of what he did. Overall, V was a hero because he cared about people, most prominently Evie. His time in containment and the letters from Valerie made him realize that he didn't want people's lives to be ruined or guided by the government, so when he escaped he dedicated his life to changing England for the better. He acted as any of us would if somebody or something we held dear was in danger. When it comes right down to it, V was no more a hero than the average man or woman living out their daily lives. He was just a man struck by tragedy and defending those things he held dear no matter what the cost. V is a hero because, like anybody else, he cared about what happened around him and tried his hardest to make a difference. What we could learn from V is to act on how we feel, so that one day we may all be heroes, big or small.